The goal normally of these kind of studies is to set up protocols or to talk to governments or to improve the situation that we are detecting through these studies.
Fellow Homo sapiens, my name is Torie Robinson and welcome back to Epilepsy Sparks Insights. Now, why do many people, including doctors and even families, often refuse to recognise or prioritise symptoms of epilepsy other than seizures? And I can say, as a person with an epilepsy, this really does my head in. What is the point in decreasing seizure frequency and severity if we don't want to live anyway? Or what is the point in just trying to control a patient's seizures if their parents are so depressed and without sleep that they just can't care for as well anyway? In this episode, we will be chatting with neuroscientist Simona Giorgi from Dravet Syndrome Foundation Spain, all about these things. If you're new and you haven't done so already, please do like and comment on this episode, subscribe to our channel, and so as to support our mission to decrease the discrimination faced by and improve the quality of life of people affected by the epilepsies. And, of course, get everybody appreciating and getting excited about the amazing epilepsy research that is out there.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm Simona. I am the Scientific Director of Dravet Syndrome Foundation Spain. So we are a patient advocacy group based in Spain, of course, as the name says. And we have many things ongoing, but I'm in charge of the research department.
What research are you focusing on right now?
Well, we have some projects more on the preclinical stage and others which are more clinical and epidemiological. So the preclinical ones are basically trying to help other researchers do their work. We opened a lab recently in collaboration with a Spanish university. And I think we are actually the first rare disease patient advocacy group to have a lab. So I think it's a huge achievement.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. And so we have two main goals here. One is to develop a biobank with patient samples, which is something that researchers have been asking a lot. And I think it's a good thing that we are in charge of it, because ethically I think it's more correct that patients manage their own samples, and also we have access to patients. So I think it's a win-win situation. And the second objective of the preclinical lab that we just opened is to develop open access tools. Somehow it's difficult to buy or to develop mouse models, plasmids, antibodies, everything that researchers need. So in the past, we already developed 2 mouse models with Dravet syndrome, which are now completely free at the Jackson laboratories and people can access them. And we also just published the plasmid, which is another tool for research. So we want to try to continue doing that. Developing tools for researchers.
Fab. And I really like the sound of their sort of easily accessible. That is something that so many researchers struggle with. And also you mentioning the monetary side of things. It's incredible how much it costs to just get a rodent in and like import them and then all the stuff that you need and et cetera, et cetera. So no, I think it's really valuable. And so tell us about your clinical research then.
We collaborate internationally with many hospitals and physicians and researchers to do mainly epidemiological studies.
For people who don't know, what does epidemiological mean?
Well, it's studies about the population that suffers from a disease, let's say. So it's not clinical trials where we test drugs, but it's rather focused on knowing more about the disease. So, for example, the diagnosis, the management of the disease, how the quality of life of the whole family is affected. So last year, for example, we published several studies where we got to know things that we expected, but it's nice to have actual data to prove that. For example, how many mothers are involved in the care of their children compared to fathers. that a lot of parents had to give up their work or reduce their working hours.
75% I read, is that right?
Yes, true.
Huge. And then the impact of the lack of income on quality of life and family quality of life, I imagine, is huge.
The stress and the sadness that it must give you not having to leave your job, even if it's to care for your children, it is a very burdensome thing to do.
Yeah.
And then, we are planning to do more of these kind of studies. Like we have now ongoing a study on SUDEP, which is sudden unexpected death in epilepsy. We want to know how much the risk of SUDEP affects the quality of life of parents and siblings of people actually with not only with Dravet syndrome, but with developmental and epileptic encephalopathies, which is the whole big family of diseases where Dravet syndrome is included in.
And so just to clarify, you say how it affects them. Do you mean how the worry about it affects them or when they experience it?
No, how the worry of the possibility of it affects them.
Right.
And especially we want to know if they were given with appropriate information, if they have appropriate measures to maybe prevent or try whatever you can do to prevent it, which is still not clear actually. So we want to know more about it. And the goal normally of these kind of studies is to set up protocols or to talk to governments or to improve the situation that we are detecting through these studies.
It's so important. All too often, I think, I get it. I understand why, but people look at seizure management as the only issue, the only thing that needs to be achieved. When in fact, when you look at a person's overall quality of life, there are many factors which are, need to be looked at and are important. Like, for instance, you mentioned employment, right? And then even if you only care about the person with the diagnosis, that, the impact of that on the child or the person that they're caring for because of the likely poor mood of the parent will be huge. So no, I think it's just so important.
This is a good start to talk about a tool that we just developed, which is called DANCE. This tool is a questionnaire which parents or caregivers can fill out to detect neuropsychiatric comorbidities in Dravet syndrome patients. So it's an acronym, which means Dravet Syndrome Associated Neuropsychiatric Comorbidities Evaluation, but it's a bit long, so we shortened it. So yes, with this tool, we want to help parents detecting the evolution of behavioral issues, mobility issues, speech problems, and all the other comorbidities that are related to Dravet syndrome. Because as you said, seizures are burdensome, are a huge part of the disease, but it's not the only thing.
I think you just used the word the evolution of, and that's really important too, isn't it? Because everything can change over time within the person's life. So the severity of different things. I mean, I completely relate to all of that, actually. I don't have Dravet, but as a person with another type of epilepsy, what you're talking about, I completely relate to from a patient perspective.
Everything that you say remembers me of projects that we are doing, so sorry for...
No, go.
But yeah, we are also developing a guide for transitioning from neuropediatric care to neurology care in Spain, of course, because every country has its own specificities. But yeah, this guide is meant for caregivers and physicians to know what to do when a patient is, let's say, 12, 13, and the features of the disease are starting to change, and the neuropediatric can no longer take care of him or her. We also included tools to improve the transition of education, for example, and legal issues that have to be taken into account when the patient grows up.
I've spoken to parents and organisations about this, and it can get very people are commonly very unsure of what the laws are, and what should they do ethically, and actually you make me think of something else. We have to look at also what is best for the family as well as the person with the Dravet, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So we spoke beforehand, and you told me that only 15% of clinicians were aware of the capabilities of patient organisations to support both the patients and the healthcare professionals, and I assume the families as well. 15%, that's pretty low.
There was a project where we tried to inform as much as possible health centers and hospitals of what we do by sending flyers and emails and as much as information as we could do. But it's difficult sometimes because there are tons of diseases. So only thinking about neurology, I cannot even imagine how many patients and diseases a neurologist has to deal with. So of course there are more informed physicians which we collaborate with routinely, but there is a lot of health professionals that do not know, unfortunately, what we and other patient advocacy group do.
Well, I guess through things like podcasts and I guess the families that you're already working with, I hope we can spread the word, that way out to more clinicians. Do you find that works sometimes?
Yes, I think we have to do everything we can. So radio, podcasts, blogs, newsletter, everything. Yeah.
So you say radio. Have you guys got your own radio program?
Yes, actually we do. It started recently. We have a radio program here in the collaboration with the same university where we have the lab. And then we also uploaded it to the main platforms of podcasts. Is the local radio station of the university.
I think worth mentioning is that from families that I've spoken to, and based on our conversation before, you provide not just information for families, but emotional support, I think, for the families too. Is that correct?
We have other professionals that help patients and families with psychological, social and legal issues. We have a whole support program where we have weekly meetings with families that want to join, and then we can refer some of them to a psychologist who collaborates with us. And then we also have a legal team who supports us.
Thank you so much to Simona for sharing with us the cool, easily accessible research into the rare epilepsy Dravet syndrome, and how her organisation now even have their own lab, which is pretty cool. Also, do note that the European Dravet Syndrome Conference 2025 is coming up, which will take place from the 3rd to the 4th of April at the Official College of Nursing of Madrid. The topics spoken of will include advances in gene therapy and precision medicine, the latest research on epilepsy management and seizure control, the importance of multidisciplinary care for patients and families, and updates on clinical trials and future treatment perspectives. And I'm just getting excited reading that. So if you want to learn more about that, we've included a link to the conference on the text below. And you can also, though, check out more about it on the website epilepsysparks.com. If you haven't already, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe to the channel, and share this episode with your friends, colleagues, family members, your pet, universities, schools, the whole shebang, because this all supports our mission to decrease the discrimination faced by and improve the quality of life of those affected by the epilepsies, and get everybody appreciating the incredibly cool epilepsy research out there. See you next week.